Kwamega Man from Chicagoland, and today we are discussing the simp epidemic that is plaguing the entire city of New York. From the Bronx to Manhattan to Brooklyn, you got three different incidents, or should I say simpcidents, that either cost men their lives or their freedom. In the Bronx, you have the case of the Dunkin Donuts customer who was killed. In Manhattan, you have the case of the boyfriend who was stabbed to death after he attacked the store owner because he allowed his girlfriend to put a battery in his back and a cape around his neck like an Energizer bunny. And then more recently, you have the simp son in the McDonald's case in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. The case of the cold fries, which also cracked another cold case. So let's check out these three different simpcidents and discuss what can be done to get rid of this issue once and for all, because it's a plague on society. It's a plague on humanity, not just the city of New York, but humanity and society at large. Meet Santiana Rodriguez, 18, a spicy Latina hyena who was arrested and charged with murder for her role in the broad daylight slaying of Jamaican immigrant Stephon Stewart, who was only 24. Now, this case involved her accusing them of having COVID after she cut them in line, from what witnesses say. And after the back and forth, the exchange, which witnesses say she was the more rude, combative participant of said exchange, she met up with a man who the police say is her boyfriend, aged between 17 to 25. So this man, or minor possibly if he is only 17, has not been identified in this article that I am currently reading, but maybe he has been identified since then. If any of you all know this man's identity, please share it in comments, because people like this need to be shamed despite them being 15 or 25. Simping like this is just absolutely reprehensible. It's insensible. Insensible. So there was that. You have a 24-year-old man whose life was taken senselessly because you had a simp who hopped on the scene with a cape and a battery in his back. He had to help kill an innocent man just to prove his devotion. And then you have the NYC Bodega case. Shout out to Jose Alba, another fine example of self-defense done right. You have Austin Simon, the super simp who was no longer with us. What happened to him was absolutely justified. Simon decided to attack a 61-year-old man, a bodega worker or owner. I'm not sure if he owned the bodega. He was working at the bodega. Simon decided to come and defend his girlfriend's honor after her debit card or her EBT card declined. Some potato chips or something. Well, after she put the battery in his back, he decided to go behind the counter, and he was subsequently stabbed to death after he assaulted the old man. The girlfriend who put the battery in his back also tried, or actually also did stab Jose Alba, but it was absolutely inconsequential. Didn't really faze him, although the police didn't charge her with any type of assault. A lot of people believe that she should have been charged. But in any event, you have another example of a man who allowed his girlfriend to put the battery in his back, and he became a crash dummy. Now, instead of using any type of diplomacy or any type of competence to diffuse the situation, to possibly, calm his woman down, Nope. The only function he knows is violence, is physical aggression. And as a result, he's no longer with us. And then you have the case of the Simp son and the cold fries incident in Brooklyn. This incident, absolutely senseless on both sides, honestly. You know, the McDonald's workers should absolutely be ashamed of themselves for allowing this situation to get out of hand like this. The 40-year-old woman, 40-year-old female, excuse me, she should be ashamed of herself for being a 40-year-old adolescent and feeding into such nonsense and then calling her son to the rescue, knowing her son is a hothead. And she even admitted, after calling her son to come up to the restaurant, that she asked him not to come up to the restaurant because she didn't want to, quote, get him in trouble. But of course, he came up to the restaurant anyway because conflict is all these simps know. These super simps, these simp enforcers. Conflict is all they know. Shout out to Mr. Palmer. So the simp enforcer's son of hers comes to the restaurant, essentially challenges the 23-year-old man, Matthew Webb, to a fight, or he tells him to come outside. And we all know what that means. Want to step outside? And unfortunately, it seems that Matthew Webb actually did oblige him at some point, and he stepped outside. And that's where I have to fault Matthew Webb. Whenever you have a super simp who has a cape around his neck and a battery in his back, you don't need to let him gas you up to become a crash dummy with him. And that's essentially what we see in this case, because Matthew Webb went outside, and according to the police, there was a fist fight that ensued. And after the fisticuffs, there were bullets. Matthew Webb was shot in the neck, and at first he was in very critical condition when he arrived at the hospital, but he later succumbed to his injuries, all over a super simp son. And the simp son, after being arrested for what was at first an attempted murder in this case, confessed to a previous murder that happened in 2020. A cold case, the solving of which was prompted by this case of cold fries. Could McDonald's be behind cold fries, helping them lead to solving cases? I don't know, but there recently was an Atlanta man who also had a case of cold fries and who was wanted for murder, and now he's in custody because he called the cops over his cold fries. There's just something about the cold fries. Back to the case of Matthew Webb. Rest in peace to Matthew Webb. Definitely. But I can't stress enough the importance of not allowing yourself to be pulled into that demon, that demon spirit of simping, that simp demon that the simp son had in this particular case, or the simp boyfriend had in the Dunkin Donuts case, or in the case of the Manhattan Bodega. That spirit of simping, that simp demon, don't allow that simp demon to wrap you up into it unless it's a case like Jose Alba's case where he had to defend himself. If Matthew Webb was in a position like Jose Alba was in, and the simp son, Michael Morgan, came to the McDonald's and came across the counter or behind the counter and proceeded to assault him, then it'd be a completely different case. But the fact that Matthew Webb even fed into the conflict and didn't try to de-escalate the conflict, he essentially further escalated what was already a combative situation. And now we see where he is today. there was something that I saw in the news report by his family, and I do take an issue with people painting things the way that they should not be painted. We'll say that much.
All Matthew was trained to do, grew up to do, is to love and care for others. And this hurts us to our core to know that we have lost something very special.
I'm not saying that he was a bad man, and I'm not saying that he deserved to be killed, but saying that he was just raised to love and to embody love, or just to be a loving person, that was not the totality of this man's character. Obviously not, if he is feeding into a fight with a random customer who came to the restaurant enraged over his mom's cold fries. If he allowed himself to be drawn into that simp demon spirit in this conflict that ultimately took his life, then I can't agree with what this woman said about him just being this loving person or this embodiment of love. I just can't agree with that. I understand that a lot of loved ones, when they lose a loved one, they want to paint the loved one that they lost in the most positive light possible. But we got to keep it real at all times. And we got to use every moment that we can as a teachable moment. So, y'all let me know what y'all think. What can be done about the simp demon that has such a grip on NYC right now? Can we organize some type of massive citywide simpsorcism where we can exorcise this simp demon from the 5 boroughs? Y'all let me know. Kwamega Man from Chicagoland. Peace and love.